It was just another ordinary day in class. Students scribbling notes, the faint hum of chatter, and a teacher at the front, trying to keep everyone in line. But everything shifted when the teacher made a remark to one particular student, a black girl sitting quietly in the back. The words echoed through the room, causing a hush to fall over the class. All eyes turned to her, waiting to see her response. For a moment, it seemed like time froze. Everyone expected anger or embarrassment, but what she did next left the entire room stunned. It wasn't just her reaction, it was the powerful message behind it that no one could have anticipated. Stay tuned as we uncover how this moment unfolded and the lesson it taught everyone in the room. The room felt heavy, the silence pressing down as everyone watched her. This wasn't the first time the teacher had made such a comment. Small remarks here and there, disguised as jokes or innocent observations, but they always seemed to have a sharp edge when directed at her. Most students just ignored it, unsure of what to say or do. But this time was different. She looked up slowly, her expression calm, yet there was a fire in her eyes that no one had seen before. It was as if she was measuring her response, deciding how to handle the situation. The teacher, unaware of the weight of the moment, stood waiting, a faint smirk on their face. The tension in the air grew thicker. Everyone wondered, what would she do? Would she stay quiet, or would she finally speak up? She took a deep breath, her gaze steady as she locked eyes with the teacher. The room buzzed with unspoken thoughts. Some students shifted uncomfortably in their seats, while others leaned forward, eager to see what would happen next. No one dared interrupt the charged silence. The teacher's words still lingered in the air, sharp and pointed, and everyone could feel their weight. But instead of reacting with anger or retreating in defeat, she did something no one expected. She stood up, her voice calm but firm as she addressed the room. "I think we should talk about this," she said, her words cutting through the tension like a knife. The teacher's smirk faltered, their confidence shaken. Students exchanged glances, some nodding in silent agreement. For the first time, someone was challenging the unspoken rules, and no one knew where it would lead. The classroom felt like it was holding its breath. She stood there, calm but unshaken, her words hanging in the air. "What you said, it wasn't just a joke. It meant something, and I think we all need to understand why." Her voice didn't waver, but there was a weight to her tone that couldn't be ignored. The teacher, caught off guard, hesitated. "It wasn't meant to offend anyone," they replied, their voice suddenly less confident. But the students weren't convinced. Whispers spread across the room, some agreeing with her courage, others unsure of where this was headed. She didn't back down. "Maybe not, but sometimes what we say, even without meaning to, reflects something deeper. Don't you think we owe it to ourselves to talk about it?" Her words struck a nerve, and the tension reached its peak. Everyone waited to see how the teacher would respond, the weight of the moment pressing heavier than ever. The teacher opened their mouth to respond, but was interrupted by another voice from the back of the classroom. "She's right," a student said, their tone hesitant at first, but gaining strength as they continued. "We've all heard things like this before, and we stayed quiet. Maybe it's time we don't." Heads turned, and murmurs spread across the room. The teacher's face tightened, clearly uncomfortable with the sudden shift in control. "This is a classroom, not a debate hall," they said, attempting to regain authority. But the energy in the room had changed. Something had been unleashed. Then, another student spoke up, this time louder. "Why is it so hard to just admit when something's wrong? Isn't that what we're supposed to learn here?" The tension was now electric. It wasn't just her standing alone anymore. This was becoming bigger, and the stakes had just been raised. The teacher's authority seemed to crumble under the growing wave of voices. They glanced around the room, clearly overwhelmed, but before they could respond, she spoke again, her tone measured but powerful. "We're not trying to attack you," she said, addressing the teacher directly. "But words matter. They shape how we see each other, how we see ourselves. I just want us all to think about that, including you. For a moment, it felt like the entire room was suspended in time. The teacher looked at her, their expression shifting, first defensiveness, then something softer. "You're right," they finally said, then a voice quiet. "I didn't think about it that way, but I should have." The class was stunned. And just as the tension began to ease, she turned to the class. "But this isn't just about me. It's about all of us, how we treat each other. So let's make this a place where everyone feels seen." Her words struck a chord, leaving the room in reflective silence. The teacher nodded slowly, acknowledging her bravery. It wasn't the ending anyone had expected, but it was exactly what they all needed. As the tension dissolved, the classroom settled into an unexpected calm. The teacher, still visibly humbled, took a moment to address everyone. "Thank you for speaking up," they said, their voice sincere. "I'll do better, and I hope we can all learn from this." The class nodded in agreement, the energy shifting into something more hopeful. She sat down quietly, her courage lingering in the air like a ripple that touched everyone. For the rest of the lesson, there was a different tone, a sense of mutual respect that hadn't been there before. When the bell rang, students left, whispering about what had just happened. Some even stopped to thank her for speaking out. She smiled, knowing this moment wasn't just about her. It was about creating change. And in that small classroom, change had finally begun.